Yo, 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 it's Misha Dex from YB Negative. As you can see, we don't have Kimon today, but big shout out to Kimon. I'm here with a special guest, a long-term friend, long-time friend, long, too damn long. My friend Angel here, and I am so grateful that you decided to be a part of this podcast. I feel like every week, Kimon and myself we have conversations based on things going on in the world and we never fully like touch it. And you are the second friend that I know personally is making a decision that I don't want to disclose just yet. And I feel like so many people need to hear your story and connect with you because of what is taking place in the world. And so, for those people that are saying these things are fictitious and not happening, this is proof of what's happening in our world today. And if you're comfortable with it, something must be wrong. So, without further ado, Angel, can you kind of share why you decided to be on YB Negative today?
Well, I wanted to share a little bit of my story. Well, it's not a small story; it's quite a bit of a story, and it's completely tied to our current political climate. And if it wasn't for the current administration, I am 100% convinced that I wouldn't be pushed to make the decision I'm about to make.
And I'm so sad. I just learned that Angel is making this decision. And again, I won't say what the decision is without your permission. But I just found out maybe what all of 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, it was a it took a long time to make this decision. This has been a decision that wasn't easy because it's almost like it brings me back to being in foster care.
Mm.
You know, when you just sit down and you're like, "Where's everybody? Where everybody go?" kind of thing. Like I'm just by myself, right? So for me, I knew that making that decision would potentially bring about a lot of feelings that I haven't coped with yet.
Got it.
Because one thing that I'm really, really good at is at putting things behind me that I can't control so that I can move forward and thrive. So I feel like these feelings of being lonesome or feeling like I don't have someone on my corner, I don't think that I ever really cope with those. But it's been a decision for it's been pending for about a year now. And but it's not something that was completely alien to me.
Mm-hmm.
I found out about some circumstances regarding my immigration status in my mid to late 20s, actually.
And
Um,
if you don't mind sharing how old you are right in this moment.
I just turned 40.
Yay! 40
Yay!
gang.
Yeah, I'm an 80s baby, so I just turned 40. I'm a Cancer. I'm single head.
um,
Not that type. Not that type of podcast. Okay, okay. Might be negative, right?
and you know what? One thing I do love about the black and brown culture is that we can't take nothing serious, but at the same time, it's our way of coping, right? Like
Right,
there's so
right.
many coping mechanisms that we've learned to adapt to in order to keep us from crying, right? And
Mm-hmm.
to keep our humor and our spirits alive. And speaking of that, like I know humor is big for you, right?
Oh yeah.
What are some of the things? And I want to like go back and forth. I want to talk about the plan. I want to talk about how you're coping with the plan. What are some of the things you're doing to keep yourself smiling? And because you have a son, you have a degree here, you have debt here, like all these different things that are happening. But most importantly, you have some of your longest life memories and milestones here.
Well, let's start at the beginning, right? How I ended up here.
Got it.
So I'm indigenous. I'm from Tlahuica Nation, and Tlahuica Nation is in the middle southern part of Mexico. And so I ended up here, and I was brought against my will as a child. And then while I was brought here against my will, I ended up in foster care because I was rescued, or quote unquote rescued. I call it rescued. I was rescued by social services because I was a victim of a crime of like abusive, physical, and sexual nature crime. So they gave me this thing called a U visa, um, and I didn't know what that meant. I just knew that I could be here.
Mhm.
Um,
Can you explain what a U visa
a
is?
U visa is a visa that they give to people that came to this country and were a victim of a crime in this country. So it's kind of like a humanitarian green card that they give
Mm.
you. But being a child, I mean, I had no clue what it all meant. I just knew that they took me from my home where I was, and they put me in protective custody, which means like they put me in a facility, lockdown facility.
Something similar that's happening now with children, right?
Right. So I went from, yeah, I mean, life was difficult because of the things that were happening to me. But the shock was that in order to protect me, they put me in a facility where I had no freedom, where all the adults were making all the decisions. I had no one that I knew from my family group, from my tribal group. It was just me by myself. Like literally, I had no one that I had any kind of relation to around me,
Mm.
or near me that I could contact or run to or even AWOL to, right? It was like I couldn't find, I had no one that I was related to. So to me, that was a big challenge. But I had the opportunity to leave the lockdown facility. I actually had been told by my social workers that I was gonna end up at those lockdown facilities, like age out of them, probably when I was 21, because
Mm.
they labeled me actually too disturbed to thrive in a normal household. And a lot of it was the cultural aspects. Hindsight, looking back, I don't think that my social workers were ready to deal or had any kind of awareness that my culture was very, very different.
Mhm.
That indigenous people have a lot of what they called imaginary thinking or
Mhm.
magical thinking, because we believed in witches and balls of fire that float up into the sky, and we believe that people can be taken over by spirit, which is like kind of like a Christian concept, but
Mhm.
we
Possession.
weren't Christian,
Mhm.
right? We were other practice, so for them that was demonic. One of the social workers told me actually that I had demonic practices, and I didn't even know what the devil was.
Right. I think that's interesting that a lot of times, if even myself have fallen short of understanding when I hear someone say atheist, and this is, I don't have the same thinking now. I automatically went to, oh, you're a devil worshiper, not realizing like that was me labeling because of the limitation of what I knew, right?
Right.
And so many times, not just because of religion or culture, things are they're missed in translation all the
Hmm.
time, even off body language. Like there's different things that black people do to show that they're, loving on the child or beating on the child, right? Either
Hmm.
way it go, you don't know the language, you don't know the culture, it's gonna be missed in translation.
Right. Right.
So I can only imagine what it was like to come from a space where you were nurtured in a culture, right, that was foreign to a place that you're foreign into.
Right, because in my culture, at my age, which was like around 6, 7, I already worked.
Mm-hmm.
I already went off to work in the fields. I was an apprentice to the healer over town, so I would light the fire. I would go get firewood. I would go get pails of water from the river. And coming into this culture here, where I was forced to go to school, I was forced to wear shoes. I had no choice, and all the adults made all the decisions. In my culture, there was no such thing as a child. At the age of 3, you became a person,
Mm-hmm.
and by becoming a person, you had responsibilities towards your community.
So it's so many things that come to mind when I think about you talking about becoming a person, um, and where you are now. Do you feel like you're being treated as a person at 40 years old in America, making a decision to the hidden word, right? Like, how does that make you
You know
feel?
what? I actually recently changed my wording for it.
Okay.
I used to call it, and here it is. This is what I'm choosing to do. I'm choosing to self repatriate back to my
Ooh.
homeland.
So what was the opposing part of that?
Before, I used to say I'm going to self deport. But see, there's a power in language,
It
and I
is.
don't want to use that word anymore because I am taking control over my destiny and my path, and only I can take control of that journey.
So when you made that decision, do you feel like you have treated yourself better mentally because of that choice to rename and reclaim your person who, like, again, You were labeled as a person when you were younger, right? And then that's something that's been stripped from you time and time and time and time again. And so here we are. You're 40 and you're choosing a new way of life and not allowing someone else to dictate what that looks like for you. So what are some of the coping you've done along with renaming?
I really started looking at it as an opportunity for an adventure,
Mm,
an opportunity to reinvent myself and recreate the person that I want to become.
yeah, because I noticed that, and we talked very briefly about it, but we were on the same page of why it was important for you to do this yourself. One, you get to control the narrative of how you left. You get to control what you get to keep, what you get to give away. I pulled up, Angel was selling plants.
Yeah, some
and
lady rolled up.
and a part of me was like, I felt so sad. Like, these are your babies. But the other part of me was just like, that's right, reclaim. Because how many people have been actually deported unwillingly, lost everything they worked hard for, separated, put in facilities, charged for it, and causing so much trauma. There's people that probably haven't even experienced trauma until now,
Yeah.
right? People
Mm-hmm.
whose family went through all the rigorous traveling to
Yep.
get here, to get away from homelands that were not conducive to their way of living and life, and then had children at that age that don't remember the fight and the struggle, right? I hope I'm not outing my friend. I have a really close friend named Connie, whose husband was deported, and I've never met her baby. And now I don't know what that would look like because she chose to take her and her baby to be with her husband. And all I could think about is the way that he was treated, from being in shackles on the plane and limitations with quarters of you know, to the most small humane thing is to be able to use the restroom, right? Um, and so, anyway, I don't want to go on a tangent because I have so many thoughts and things and feelings that are coming to mind for me. But when I'm thinking about how brave you are for making this decision, and like I said, reclaiming the way that you decide to remove yourself from a space that doesn't see you as a person, I want to take this moment to commend you for showing me that you have to reclaim your power
Yeah.
even when you can't change the dynamics in which you're surrounded by.
Yep.
And that is so powerful for me because let's face it, we're all life in here, right? And although I may not be considered the person under the microscope at the moment, right? But we know women and people of color are always a target.
Right.
Um, what advice would you give to anyone? It doesn't even have to be necessarily in your shoes because I feel like you have the power and the gift of clearing space for yourself. What advice would you give to anyone in this moment of time? Whether it's their family being deported, whether it's them, whether it's friends, like,
What really helped me be stay solid, honestly, is looking at what is it that I have control over.
mm,
If I can control a narrative, then it's on me.
got it,
Like I said, I even changed the wording because it was so important for me to be empowered.
got it.
Because I was looking at myself exactly how you said, like, right, how did it feel when you entered foster care?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key right there. Had I not been in foster care before, had I not been stripped of my humanity as a 7-year-old kid and been placed in a position where everyone around me was making a decision except me, the person affected, then maybe it would be a little different. Maybe I wouldn't have the skills. Maybe I wouldn't have the previous experience.
Yeah.
But the fact that this is not the first time I lose everything,
Mm.
this is not the first time I end up with just a bag and nothing else from what I've worked for. This is not the first time. This is not my first rodeo,
Right.
right? You might know, right? You go from one home and then that home doesn't work out, and then what, you get a bag, you throw everything in there, and here we go again. Doesn't matter that you just made a little BFF at kindergarten or first grade, second grade class. It don't matter. They don't care. They just say they didn't work out. Here's your bag, and sometimes it wasn't even a suitcase. It was in darn freaking trash bags that they
Trash
would give
bags,
us.
yeah.
trash bags where you carry your life. So at least now I'm selling my stuff, I'm making my money, and I'm plotting because I'm repatriating myself to my homelands where I belong.
And if you don't mind, we will post your Zelle.
I
Anybody
don't
want to?
mind at all.
I would mind either.
But let me tell you the crazy part. The crazy part is that like why I'm in this position because everybody like how like if you had a green card or a U visa like why are you in this
That's what I
position,
wanted to talk
right?
about.
I'm gonna tell you what happened to me. So I was in foster care, right? I don't know nothing about immigration. It's not even in my radar because I'm a kid. I didn't even ask to come here. So they give me up for adoption, and they give me up for adoption to people who are American. Uh, and they had no clue either because they're not immigrants, and that's not on their radar because they've been here their whole life, and their families have been here their whole life. I mean, I did a research on my adopted mother, and she's tied down to people that came from boats in Europe and Cardinal Wolsey from King Henry VIII and all that. So I mean, they had nothing to worry about. She's a descendant of farmers from Nebraska. She is as white as a paper. So I mean, it didn't even cross her mind. So we did the adoption, and what they did do was they changed my name under my U visa paperwork. So I got a delayed registration of birth, which is a document that if you Google it, it looks exactly like a birth certificate, and it's a delayed registration of birth from the state of California. However, on the bottom where it says name of parent, and location of birth, it does say that I was born in Mexico. Um, but that's the only birth record I had. As an indigenous person, I also didn't have a regular birth certificate. So that was all I had. And then they give me a social. And with that, I was even able to get a real ID, Misha. I was able to register to
I
vote.
meant to ask you about that.
I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. Because
So
see,
this goes to show you, like, there's so many false narratives that are
you
being put
see,
out.
you see that little bear?
Wow.
That means that they deemed me legit. And that's just the crazy part. That I have a delayed registration of birth. Even when I went to go get my passport, because when I first found out, I was in my 20s, and I was finishing the university, and I was like all excited because I wanted to go to Greece.
Mm-hmm.
So I applied for a passport, and that's when I started figuring out something was wrong, but it was also not important enough to me because I didn't really care about traveling the world. I was just happy going to Mexico back and forth,
Right.
and I could do that because all I
And we
used to,
did that.
and we did
And
that.
we did
So
that.
Misha is a witness. They let me back in. They let me back in multiple
And he was
times.
the driver, so
Yeah, and that's the crazy part. All I had was I would cross just like any other citizen without a passport. I just had my delayed registration of birth that looked like a birth certificate and my driver's license. And I would come through and I'd be like, yeah, I'm a US citizen through adoption. And they'd be like, good, all right, here, come back in. Welcome back, Mr. Woolsey.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I'll be like, all right, cool. And we'd be back in. I did that I don't know how many times,
Right.
Misha. I wouldn't say at least 100 times in my teens, 20s, 30s.
I know when I met you, you were doing it consistently. So
Like every other weekend, I was out there eating fish tacos.
yes, mushroom tacos.
Yep. And so for me, like when I found out that there was something fishy, it was almost like you get an idea, but you almost don't want to find out because you really don't care. Like, or if it is what it is, like how bad could it be? Because I'm registered to vote, I have the driver's license. And I work for the county.
No, I know. It's so, like I said, there's so many angles. Like even you getting your master's from Chapman, like, and that was such a big deal. Like, so not to veer off too much. The thing that pisses me off about everything is you can build debt here. You can get your real ID. That's some new.
Yeah, I got grants. I got federal student loans, and no one ever checked, like truly checked.
Right.
And no one ever had the
Because it wasn't a threat. It wasn't a threat in the moment, and that's the thing. It's if it's not beneficial, right?
right.
It wasn't a threat at the time, and even then, you're still not a threat. But your ethnicity, your birthplace, your um, all these markers that you who you're comprised of becomes a threat,
Right.
right? And when did you know that you were the threat? Or let me correct that. When did you know you were viewed as the threat?
So I found out I was viewed as a threat when I was like, finally, like last year, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, hey, you know what? Like, um, maybe I should really look in. Like, I'm grown. I was like, let me be an adult. I have a whole master's. I have a whole career. Let me figure this stuff out. You know, everybody's always like, do it the right way, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, let me find out what's really wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went and I found out like I needed to get like a green card, like a actual plastic
Mm-hmm.
like green card to cross the border. So I went and filled out the paperwork, and I was like, hey, like,
Which is also new because I just recently did that, and I never had to do that before, and I've been across
right,
the
like you
border
need a little
several.
card to cross the border,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I knew I found out I had an alien number because I went through my adoption paperwork and I found out like there was this number that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And so I called an attorney, we talked about it, and we filled out all the paperwork. And unfortunately, because of my age, my adopted parents could no longer help me out at all.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty much like I'm on my own, even though these people adopted me, like I'm on my own. So I fulfilled out all the paperwork, and they asked me questions like, "Have you ever said you're a U.S. citizen? Have you ever voted?" And immediately, well, I can't lie because if they look at all like my employment records, like they'll be able to pull out my application where I put that I'm a U.S. citizen.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be able
But
to.
did you? But you didn't look at it as
I
lying, right?
no, I didn't know.
Right. That's what I'm
I didn't
saying.
know. All I
Right.
had was my delayed registration and birth from the state of California, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't know how that worked. I didn't think that anyone could just get a birth certificate. I thought that's how it worked. Like I became a citizen, and I got a paper from the state of California because my adopted parent was from the state of California. And you know that whole idea, like if your parent is a citizen, you're a
Your citizen,
citizen,
yeah,
right?
that way not for me,
I
no.
literally thought that that's how it worked. And when I got my little paper and my little social security card and the name and with my name on it, I thought that was it. No one ever told me that that wasn't it. That I needed to get this little other document and get this form called a document of naturalization, which would have been so easy if someone from social services had told my parents to do it when they adopted me. But see, no one told them. Because I was a minor, it would have been them doing it for me. But see, I wasn't told, they weren't told, no one informed us. So then I did it when I was older. And at this point, when they asked, have you ever registered to vote? Have you ever voted? I said yes. And so unfortunately, right now, I'm being made an example of because they told me that voting and without you being a citizen is a federal felony. So now I'm a federal felon.
So pause. Let
Mm-hmm.
that sit in for a minute, right? So we talked 5 6 minutes ago about reclaiming who you are, right? Being labeled things that do not fit. How does that register for you?
At first, it was really difficult because when you hear the word felon,
Mm-hmm.
like especially like
All the things we can tell you, we know some felons.
right. The way it looks on paper,
Mm.
right? If anyone ran it and we're like, dang, like all these things, like
All these
right,
charges,
fraud and like impersonating,
U.S.
U.S.
citizen.
citizen and voting, like committing voters fraud and
So let's talk about it. So you have impersonation due to voting and being considered a U.S. citizen because that is what you were considered when you were adopted. You have all these things that did not prevent you from voting. So it's not like you went in with this malicious, conscience, like, oh, let me falsify my
no,
citizenship.
Misha, I have even you know the little card that they send you when you register to vote.
Yeah,
I have it still. I have it because they mailed it to me to my
and
house.
this is why conversation is important because I feel like no one is safe. No one is safe. There are people who are from parents that are of American descent, right? Whether it's
Mm-hmm.
African American, Mexican American, European, and they went off to the military. I'm seeing this story, and they're having their children on bases in Germany and Singapore and all these different places, and now they're even And these are families that are American who were on different lands to do American things
Yeah.
and perform American duties and have their children out of countries and now, I mean, in other countries, and now some of them are even facing
Right. I mean,
deportation.
it's equal because if you think about it, like most people, and especially in this culture, they'd like to say if you adopt a child, you're their parent, right? Whether it's blood or not, like you're their legal you're responsible for them,
Yeah.
right? So it is believed that that's your child now. So why wouldn't I be privileged to my adopted parent's citizenship?
Right.
Why did I need to? Oops, you didn't send this little document, so now it's all off the table, right? So in they're telling me, well, if you hadn't voted, I'm like, well, had I known not to
Right.
vote, I wouldn't have voted because I wouldn't want to do something that's a federal felony.
Right. And that's what people, I don't feel like, understand the different labels. Like I'm hearing how people are like loosely using, you know, impersonation and the federal crime, and it's like it's not the same as taking someone's life or robbing a bank. You're literally following the protocol that most people do as American citizens, and that's participating in the presidential election, even political, local political affairs in like the city you live in, and to be labeled like a federal
Right?
like, I mean, I can't even get the words out,
I
like a
mean,
felon.
Misha, I was a lobbyist for the Democratic
Look
Party.
at the work that we've done together. First of all, we met on grounds of youth advocacy and fighting for human rights, and here I am sitting with you, after over a 20-year friendship, right? And I am, I don't know if I'm fighting tears or I'm just so proud of the decision you're making with such pride. I feel like if you was a mess, I'll be a mess with you. But I am sad. I'm extremely sad. I'm emotional because you are one of many stories, and you are one who's a fighter,
I
and
mean,
not everybody don't have the fight in them.
it's tough. I mean, I'm leaving behind my son as a former foster kid. Why would I want to leave behind my kid?
Right.
But you know what? I'd rather be distant than be dead. Because with this administration, there's no guarantee. I'm a type 1 diabetic. Every snack, every meal, I must inject insulin. I highly doubt they'd give it to me. I'm hearing all kinds of stories of people where they deny them their medication. I'm not trying to be another statistic. I already, I already ran away from statistics as a former foster kid. I graduated high school. I'm not in prison, and I got a master's degree. I feel like I've already
And
been
don't, and
fighting.
you shortchange yourself because you've done so much community healing. You've helped so many people on their journey of healing. I will not sit here and deny you of all the great things and thoughts and prayers you pour into me. Um, I know that there is there is so much more to life than we get to experience without even having to face these adversities, right? So to see you sit before me, right, and still be able to smile through this is so hopeful. And I pray that there are other people who have people like you to hear from, even if they're not in your shoes. You don't have to be in someone's shoes to know what it feels like to walk. You know what I mean? And I mean that on a grand scale of, as long as you're breathing and living life, you know what it's like to be hit with different things that will cause you to take like shortness of breath, in the sense of like losing faith, losing hope, losing the privileges of what people call privilege, but it should be regular human benefits, right?
Yep. Well, Misha, they can take away my home, they can take away my car, they can take away my clothes, they can take away my food, they can take away my money, they can take away my family, but they can never take away my dignity, my self love, and my power unless I give it to them.
I can't even top that. So with that being said, Angel, why
Why be
be negative?
negative? Yep.
Thank you.
Let's have a party. Mi casa, su casa. It's a quarter after 5, yeah. And it's them they light outside, yeah.